lovely, beautiful people. Yep, it's the Cockney Buddha, and I'm back for the old Getting Real. Here in sunny Florida, even though we've been going through a bunch of rain right now. And there has been a bunch of storms that's been peeling off that coastline in South Africa there. This one's all about risk. And I know you might be in a position of not being able to take risks, but we all have our ways, and you do it throughout your day all the time. You just don't know it. And I'll tell you what, it brings on growth when you do take a bit of a risk. It means being a bit uncomfortable. But comfort don't mean growth. So here we are, like I say, in sunny Florida. I do have a certification in counselling. And I love getting the word out through the old microphone on a podcast. So please, please, please get out there and give me the old thumb up or subscribe or give me a like. Because it helps the old algorithms get me out there to other people. I love each and every one of you. So yeah, I wanted to talk about risk, but first I wanted to read I've got one of those, those Unfuck Yourself calendars by Gary John Bishop. If you haven't read the book, go and read the book. It's a great book. It really is a good book. And it's not that thick, the book. So it's not like an intimidating. I don't know if anybody else does that, looks at a thick book that they want to read and go, oh my God. If you're an avid reader, see, I love it's crazy. And I know I'm bouncing around like a bloody pinball machine here. It's crazy. I love reading, really do, but I seem to shy away from it. We think we've pinned it back to because I didn't like school through bullying and all that kind of thing. So we're wondering if it's kind of hooked up in that direction. But anyway, but I've been getting better because I do like reading. I really do. But anyway, I wanted to read this calendar because my wife got me this calendar, where you rip off a page. Each page is, the date of the calendar each day. And it says, you could throw yourself at something 1,000 times, failing miserably on every attempt, and yet succeed on attempt 1,001. Think about that. First of all, I don't like the word failing. As soon as I read that, I'm like, oh, my guys know that I don't like fail. Because I believe, how can you fail if you keep getting up and keep going after it? If you keep getting up and you keep going after it, you ain't failing. In fact, even if you happen to have, I ain't going to say have to, I nearly did. Even if you're choosing to walk away from something, I don't class that as a fail, because what have you learnt from it? If you've learnt something, you've grown. So how have you failed? Right? But so as soon as I read that about the failing bit, I'm like, oh no, I don't really want to say that. But it's on the calendar, so yeah, you know how I feel about that word. But yeah, that's pretty. I mean, how true is that, right? How true is that? How many times have we gone at something, and then you back up, and maybe if you would have bloody gone on the next one, you would have got it. You never know. You don't know. You get it when you're ready. You'll be given that challenge, and you'll be given that reward when you're ready for it. Because there's been many times when it's like, yeah, I weren't ready. I wouldn't have been ready for that. And it's come later on, and then it's like, oh, okay. Because to tell you the truth, if I hadn't gone through all the different things that I've gone through, as far as, giving up a catering career that I absolutely loved, giving up a pest control career, all because of my mental health, I wouldn't have been prepared for what I do now for a living, because that taught me a shit ton. That taught me a shit ton without even realising it. And it kind of paved the way to do what I'm doing now, and I absolutely love this. I mean, this is a job that, comes along, and I'm like, oh, wow, okay, sweet as a nut, right? Anyway, something to think about right there, but I wanted to get into talking about risk. And I can only speak for myself because everybody's different. But you don't realise how many times you're taking risks. Even when you get in your car and you drive out your driveway, you're risking, right? Even when you're crossing a street, you're risking. We take risks all the time. But if you want to get to the store to go and pick up your groceries, you're going to not get in your car, right? Even if you get on a transport system, aeroplanes, buses, underground systems, train, you name it, right? There's risk. But if you want to get somewhere, you're more than willing to take the risk, right? So why not take the risk with things that you want? And like I say, I can only speak for myself. And I'm going to, tell you a little bit of the story of the big risks that, that I took and my wife took. Because there I was living in London for 26 years and never, ever dreamed of leaving London. In fact, I said I would never get married, I'd never have kids, I'd never leave London. I wanted a house right in the middle of London. Yeah, try that now. Right, try and get yourself a nice little pad in the middle of London now. Forget about it. Not unless you're bloody rich as shit and you got millions. Crazy right now. But that's what I said. I said I'd never have kids, never get married, and I'd never ever leave London. I never saw myself ever, and I mean this. I'm not even kidding. I used to go around in London going, "I'll never leave London. I mean, no way I'll leave London. I freaking love that city," and I never saw myself ever leaving. Never. I always said I wanted a house right in Trafalgar Square. Build me a house right in Trafalgar Square. Yeah, lovely. Right between the lions, please. But yeah, so we never know what's coming along. We may have some expectations of things. We may, like I had the expectation of, I was gonna build my catering career over in London, even though I was stuck in the House of Commons. And to tell you the truth, it was a blessing even leaving there, because and then the growth started. And when I left there, I came here to the US. But that's when the growth started. But people just get so comfortable and they're so scared of risk that they don't see what they can really do or what they really have, because they're not even willing to try, because they're afraid of what may happen. Or there was so many warning signs and stuff that when I turned around and I came to the US. I started from the beginning, blimey. I came to the US and it was, I just broke up with a girl that I was with over there, and I was saving a bit of dough to buy an house. And, it was, it wasn't a great deal of money, and I had no idea what kind of house I was going to get. But, I was planning. It was like, again, moving forward, right, growing. And the girl that I was with, we knew about the saving and getting a pad together and all that, and then it went a bit tits up, mate. And I ended up, that relationship ended up breaking up, and again, it paved the way, right? Because at the time I was pretty devastated. I went a bit to shit, but at the end of the day, again, it paved the way for where I'm at now. I'd never met my wife. Heck no. I'd never have kids. Right? So I had a bit of dough. A mate of mine was coming over to the US. He was dating a girl over here. And I thought, you know what? I always wanted to come to the US. I always found it fascinating, because I was watching all now I'm dating myself, the Knight Rider and the Baywatch and all that, right? I was watching all them, some of the American shows, and what was that bloody, the A-Team? Anybody remember that? God blimey, eh? Oi. I was watching, you know, we watched the A-Team and all that, and so I always wanted to come to the US. It was a place I always wanted to come, and I had that opportunity because my mate was coming over here on an holiday to see his girl, and I said, "Hey, matey, you know, do you mind if I like tag along? We have an holiday together." We came out for 3 weeks, and he goes, "Hang on, let me check with the girlfriend and that." And I'm like, "Yeah, all right, sweet." Anyway, I spoke to the girlfriend and all, became friends actually, good friends, and she's like, "Yeah, shit, come on over, blah blah." So I'm like, "All right, sweet." So anyway, I came over. What a banging holiday! Big shout out to old Pickett out there. We called him Yorkie. He was from north of England, and we called him Yorkie. And God blimey, did we have a bloody blast! So if he's out there and he's hearing this, hey, please pass this on to him and a big shout out because shit, that was I'll never ever forget that holiday. I'll tell you what. And again, it paved the way. And when I start talking about risk, I'm not even there yet. So we had an absolute blast of a holiday. And within that holiday, it was a friend at the time, my wife now, Tracy, she was coming up from Florida. We were up in Maryland. And she was coming over. Coming up from Florida. And was going to be staying with us. She was going for a job in the same building as her friend that my mate was dating. So the friend's like showing pictures. Hey, look, she's coming up. And I'm like, yeah, all right. You know, I wasn't interested in shit, mate. Hell no. I just got off a relationship for 6.5 years, and I'm like, no, you know, and I'm just going to freaking enjoy myself, and you know, God knows what I was going to do, but I was like, no, you know, not interested. Shit. And anyway, Tracy ended up coming up to Maryland. Anyway, one thing led to another. Long story short, because I want to get to the risk bit, but long story short, you know, now she's my missus, and I've been married for nearly 30 years, end of this year. October, next month. And then, October. So it'll be 30 years. And I love it to death. I can trust her more than anything. It's 100% trust. Amazing person. I mean, the shit that she's accomplished with her life is like, wow. But it didn't all start out like that. And this is when I'm going to talk about the risk, because I went back to England from the holiday, and one day the phone rings, my mum picks it up because I was still living with my parents at the time. Hang on, I've got to take a drop of rosy. My old mouth is getting a bit dry. Hold up a minute. Down the old Gregory we go. Hold up. Oh, that's better. Lovely. So I go back to England, phone rings, mum picks it up. She goes, "Oh, it's for you." Well, what happened, I didn't know this, but what happened was my mate's girl had called me because my now wife was staying with her, and then gives the phone to my missus. And when I answer the phone, it's now what now is my missus. And because we'd hung out, you know, when she came up, we was having a laugh and going to bars and, you know, partying and doing all kinds of shit together. But there was no way, neither one of us was even thinking about any of this, what has happened and materialised. Heck no. My wife didn't even like Englishmen, by the way. Hello, oi, I'm from the capital. Holy shit. This is what I mean. Things, you don't always know what's going to happen, and there's risk involved if you want things to grow. And so she had shit, heck no. And there's reasons why she didn't at the time. You know, she had a friend that was dating an English fella, and he was beating her around, and you know, and I'm totally not that guy. But, you know, got painted with the brush, mate. Got painted with the brush. It's like, I don't know. And I knew she didn't. Yeah. So, and she made it quite clear. I remember we was at a bar once and it was loud. Oi to Studebaker. I wonder if that's still there. Studebaker's in Rockville in Maryland. And we used to visit this place quite often in the evenings. And we were in there once, and I walked up to her to talk to her, and she goes, "Go over there." And I'm like, "What?" And she goes, "Go over there." I'm like, "What do you want me to go over there for?" So she goes, "You're spoiling me chances." I'm like, "What the fuck?" So I walked across like about 20 foot away, and I'm shouting. I'm like, "Is this all right?" And we're in this club. But that's how right. So anyway, get on the blower, and it's me missus on the other end of the phone, and we just started talking, and then it went to I had to get a special because there was no freaking like special rates and all that. In England, if you called your next door neighbour, they were charging you by the minute, and I'm not even kidding you. They would charge you by the minute. And it weren't that cheap, especially if you had to call it international. There weren't no international anything, right? You were going to pay a freaking arm and a leg. You might as well sell a kidney, right? So I ended up finding this phone that was through the company that had some special, it wasn't nothing spectacular, but it had some special phone rate for international. And it wasn't like you couldn't just call anywhere. I had to go like I'm calling the US. So we ended up calling each other. She would take a turn one weekend, and the following weekend it'd be me. And we'd be on the blower for bloody shit, I don't know, a couple of hours sometimes, hour and a half, chatting away on a Sunday, every Sunday. And then I found an outside line in where I was working at. I found an outside line, not that I know. Hello. It was all right. It's all government building, lovely jubbly. And I found a line out. So every now and again in the week, I would like scarp her off, and I would bell her in where I was working in that when I was chefing. But it just started growing, and then it comes to the point where, because my wife came over to visit me. It was an Easter, I remember it well. Met the family and everything, and then she came back, and then I came over to visit her on my own, no one with me in that. And first time I'd ever really flown alone. Was always with somebody, but it meant something again. It's that like, oh, this is where I want to go. So, and then I came over, and then it got to that point where we were like, right, what we doing? What we doing here? Because we live 4,000 miles away from each other. And I was where I was working in the House of Commons. I'd been, like I say, I'd been there for, I think I'd been there for about 6.5 years. I think I was there for about 6.5 years or so. And it was getting to a point where I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to kind of get out. People were leaving. It changed management. It changed executive chef and all that. And it was like, it's not the same. And I was in again, there was no growth. I was in a bit of a rut. It was the same old. Even though I loved the people in that place, freaking met a lot of good people, chefing in that place, great place. And some absolute I've got some blinding mates that I made from there. But it was just like, getting in that kind of rhythm, And I was only young. So, and my wife had just started a career. That's what she moved up to Maryland for. She hadn't been in it long. And it was working for the government. We weren't making absolute fuck all. Right, we were working for the government. There were not much bleeding money made in the government. It's like when I worked for the Commons, it was a government job. But even though she wasn't making much money. It was a move for her. And she just moved from Florida all the way up to, which is, I don't know, 800 miles, I guess, something like that, up to Maryland to start this career. So I'm like, all right, well, let's figure out how I can get there. Because it was I didn't intend, like I said, I did not intend ever to leave London, ever. So I said, okay, what are we going to do? And it was, there was a lot of bleeding piss bowling about, let me tell you, because we was trying to, because the immigration and all that. Now it's tighter, probably, but all the immigration and everything. We was trying to find someone that would sponsor me. And anyway, it came down to, I was coming over here on I could stay here at the time. I don't know what it is now, like I say. But at the time, it was like 3 months. You didn't need a visa. And so I was going to come over. We were going to see how it went. The crazy thing is, and I talked to my wife about this a few months ago, which is really, really strange, is even though I knew that I was coming over just to, test the waters and see how we get along, I moved all my shit. And when I talked to my wife about it, she goes, yeah, it's weird, right? We didn't even think of it. Was on the cards it was going to happen. Because I had shipped I arranged movers and all that to get my stuff and ship it. And my wife had got an apartment, and I'm like, wow, it's really strange how that all happened. It was on the cards. It was meant to be. But the risk of it all, because we had never lived together. There was none of that. We had no freaking money. There were hardly any money. In fact, I brought more money into the country because I was starting to bang out overtime. I remember the chefs thinking, you don't ever, because I never did overtime. And I remember the chefs going, hang on a minute, because I was banging out some overtime and out and bunging some money away. Not that it was a great deal of money, let me tell you. But it was, it was a little bit, not much, like I say. And it depends on what you call not much, right? I mean, it wasn't even 10 grand, put it that way. I don't believe, if I remember rightly. So, and I'm talking about dollars. So, not even close. So I made the move and got all the warnings. What are you doing? The risks. I know my wife got warnings as well from friends of hers. Oh, is he going for a green card? Well, fuck me. I've been here 30 years. I don't know. I haven't fucking left. So that proves that lot wrong. If any of you lot are listening, please listen. God, blimey. I tell you what, because that gets up my nose a bit, to tell you the truth. And I know it happens. I get it. I know it happens, but it's a little bit of a sting in the arse when that's nothing like what I was about. My wife could have said, oh, I'm moving to bleeding Singapore, and I went, all right, and I would have gone there. So, it's that pisses me right off. I'm sorry, that really, even saying it got up my nose. And I got a big one. But yeah, got the warnings, the healthcare system, think about that, because I was coming from an NHS country, National Health Service country, and, think about that, and then it was down to work and all that, and then, of course, I get in the country and didn't really know with my anxiety. We knew it was about, there's a whole story behind all this. I'm freaking skating past the whole bunch. But when it came down to my mental health, in the end, I couldn't even work because of my mental health. And my wife was in a government job. And for the first year, I couldn't work anyway because it was all the immigration shit going on. And I had a couple of offers. Oh, yeah, well, you can come here and work for me, and I'll just pay you under the... I'm like, no, because the risk of that is dodgy. Because if I would have done that and someone would have been like, oi, bomb, I would have been out. I wouldn't even been able to get back to my wife. It wouldn't have happened. So I didn't take those. It's knowing when to take your common sense, right? I mean, if you've got a chance of freaking getting caught with something like that, is it worth the risk? Is it? So, and it wasn't, because I knew that if I was going to get in an argument with somebody and I was working in a kitchen or something and somebody was like, oh yeah, I'll fucking bubble on you, boy, and they go off and they fucking like, you know, point the finger and the old bill come, that's me bleeding clobbered, innit? I'm like, out. So I didn't want to risk it. I didn't want to take that kind of risk because what was more important was being with what was then my girlfriend, being with her. So, but anyway, I got, you know, well, no, she was my wife at that point, actually, when all my mental health started, even though I'd had it since the age of 5, I didn't know what really any of it was when I was in England. Didn't really get that much in the way of help with it. Sure didn't know it was anxiety. Didn't have a bloody clue. Just knew it was a bunch of fear that I wondered what the heck it was. Thought it was normal, actually. Far from normal. It was, anyways, a whole story behind that. And then my mental health, you know, that went a bit tits up. And then I couldn't work. I couldn't work for a while professionally. And then I got a job at a dinner theatre, actually. Burnbrae Dinner Fair. If there's anybody out there that listens to this that used to work out there at Burnbrae Dinner Fair, please hit me up. Because I tell you what, I think about that place often. And it was literally a dinner theatre. It was brilliant. I was the only chef. There was I had some people that used to work for me, but some of them were you know, high school kids that would come in after high school for a bit of work and that. And then I had wish I could remember their bloody names, but two lovely ladies. One would do cakes and all the pastry stuff. And what did the other one do? She used to do a load of prep. I can't remember now. But it was a banging job, and it didn't pay shit. But the people and the job and all that, they made it. They really did. And I stayed there for a while. I got that job through a soup kitchen that I was working at, and I was doing that voluntary. And a lady come in and says, "You looking for work?" And she was a beautiful lady, great personality, beautiful person. And she knew someone who was the manager of this dinner fair. And she goes, "Yeah, I know someone who's looking for a chef." I'm like, "Really?" And that was it. That's how that started. Again, paved the way. And then my wife said she's got the job down here in Florida because she wanted to get back down here because her family's down here. And all her friends were down here. And we came to Florida, but then my mental health went a bit nutsy. Did my last chefing job out there at Victoria and Albert's at Disney Grand Floridian Hotel, and that was it. End of that career. And it was just so much. There's been so much risk along the way on my wife's part as well, because, you know, when my mentals went a bit and I wasn't working and that, wasn't earning, but you know, my wife's like, "Okay, we'll do the laundry, vacuuming, and all that." So I was doing that. But cool, so I come from a background of, hey, you know, the man wins the bread. Go to work, make yourself a man. Right? Shit. So here I am going, "Oh, no, I'm meant to be doing that. I'm meant to be doing that." And she's like, "Don't worry about it." And I'm like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. All right." Little did I know, you know. But it's because it comes from somewhere, and beliefs and all that shit, that, you know, you're meant to be doing that. And anyway. But think about that risk. Because am I living sweet now? Shit, yeah. Got a nice house, got a fucking great family. We got the vehicles. I'm doing all right. I've got a brilliant career. You know, my wife's had a great career for a good few years now. And yeah, we're doing all right now, but it didn't fucking start like that. And anybody that comes up to me and goes, "Oh yeah, you married into it, didn't you?" I'll be like, "Get the fuck out of here." Are you shitting me? No, I didn't. You know, in fact, if you think about it, I had my career and everything over in London, chefing and that, and I left that behind and came without knowing what in the heck is what I'm going to do. And my wife, you know, working for it, didn't know whether that was going to work at all. We didn't know whether we were going to work out or whether we were even going to get along all right. Got along as friends, great, brilliant, right? And then we became the boyfriend-girlfriend, and we were doing great there, but we still lived 4,000 miles away from each other. But it was worth that. There's a thing that comes along to where when the thing you want becomes greater than the fears, then you take the risk. Then you'll take the risk. How badly do you want something? Are you willing to be uncomfortable to go for it? And I was willing to be uncomfortable. And you know what? Even though it was an uncomfortable situation, when I look back, I really enjoyed those years. It's crazy. I mean, we was even getting, because it was cheaper, we spoke about it today, my wife and I, funny enough, we was even getting, I think it was a £50 bag of flour and a bag of dry yeast, and I was making bread because the freaking bread, the bread we could afford was shit. You go to damn well spread it and your knife went through the bread. You put a big hole in it. It was bleating crap. And if you wanted to like a decent loaf of bread, which I was used to in England, and like the regular bread is decent bread, and I'm like, what the heck is this? It was like fluff. You toast it and put it in your mouth. It was like marshmallow. It just went and just disappeared. I'm like, this ain't bread. But to get a decent loaf of bread, it was stupid money. You couldn't afford it. Madness. So I said, there, give me a freaking big old bag. Get me a big old bag of flour. Like we got a £50 bag of flour. Some dry yeast, and that's all I needed. Freaking water's free, and even though it isn't, but you know, the water comes out the bleeding tap, a little bit of salt in that, mate, and a bit of sugar. Bosh, I got bread going. So I used to make the bread. We had no money. I was putting meals together from cans of tuna and pasta, and making like tuna and pasta bakes and shit like that. We didn't have shit, but I tell you, it teaches you something. Sometimes getting to be that allows you to move forward into that more, you're already risking. So you're moving from that upwards, out of that. And that's what we did. Didn't come easy. We worked our balls off. We worked our freaking testes off. Well, not my wife, but me. Yeah, it was bloody hard work. But it all comes down to how badly do you want it? Because then you're willing to take the risk. It's the amount of want that you want from getting there will outweigh the fear and the risk. Don't allow something to stop you going forward and testing the waters. I get it. You don't want to, even though people have. I've read articles on this, quite a few articles, and I've seen interviews of it, where people have been in six-figure jobs and they've just gone, I'm done with this, and they've moved on to something else and took a big risk and made it work. You know why? Because they were done. They were done. In their mind, it's like, no, don't want this no more. That looks a lot better. That's got a lot more growth. I'm moving towards that. So even if you're in a job where you're making the dough and you're doing all right, just start something off on the side. You're not taking a massive risk that way. You're just pushing. It's like with me. I would never have been able to do this podcast and afford the equipment and stuff like that I have if I wasn't in the job that I'm doing now. It paved the way forward. And allow your job to be a stepping stone and pave your way forward and take some risks. It takes taking some risks and being in an uncomfortable position to learn. And even if it comes down to you walk away from that situation, take the information that you've gained, and you have not failed. You have not made what I call bumps or mistakes. In fact, welcome them. Because they're the teachers. They're the secret teachers that are teaching you the way forward. And allow yourself to move forward. Don't stop. Move it forward. I hope everybody's having a great weekend. Big shout out to the old Gromster. Go and check his channel out. He's coming over here next week. Oi, oi. Again, if you knew this guy's story, let me tell you, the fact that he's getting on a plane and coming over is pretty incredible. Because like he said, he will tell you himself, he couldn't even get outside the door hardly. It takes work. It takes dedication. It takes risk. Make it happen, guys. Don't just sit there and be scared of something and it doesn't make you go forward. Move forward on it. You could be doing something for yourself that you absolutely love. I'm doing it right now, and I'll tell you what, I'm absolutely stoked about it. So please pass me around, guys. Go and check out my Sunday, even tomorrow. I've got one going out, 11 a.m. live. That's Eastern US time. And please hit that subscribe button, hit those likes. Get me up there and out there, and I can get this message out to more people, which is absolutely what I want to do. Come and see me Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, and thanks for listening, guys, and all your support. Loving each and every one of you. Stay that course. Namaste.